You're sitting across from her at a crowded coffee shop. She's laughing, scrolling through her phone, and occasionally looking up to catch your eye. On the surface, it's just a casual, pleasant afternoon. But beneath the surface, you feel this subtle, quiet tension. You find yourself wondering if she's just being polite, or if there's something deeper happening right in front of you. Your mind starts racing. Is she actually into me, or am I just reading into things? Does the age gap make this weird for her? Am I misinterpreting her energy? Man, am I just going to make a fool of myself if I say something? Here is the honest truth most guys miss. The signs a younger woman likes you aren't going to look like a Hollywood movie. They won't be loud, obvious, or overly direct. The reality is, she isn't waiting for you to guess her feelings. Her nervous system is already sending signals that her words are trying to hide. You are not out of touch. You aren't failing at reading the room. Every guy who has ever navigated this dynamic has sat right where you were sitting, trying to decode the unspoken language of attraction. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to read between the lines, spot the subtle shifts in her presence, and understand her true intentions with total clarity. Let's get into it. Most men believe that if a younger woman likes them, she will make it explicitly obvious by being flirtatious, forward, or direct. But the real truth is, attraction across an age gap triggers a deep wave of vulnerability and fear of judgment in her, causing her to mask her interest behind subtle, protective behaviors. When a younger woman feels a connection with an older man, her emotional safety is on the line. She is hyper-aware of the dynamic. She's wondering if you see her as mature, or if you just see her as a kid. Because of this, her attraction doesn't show up as loud confidence. It shows up as a quiet, anxious, avoidant dance. What looks like distance is often just her trying to protect her own peace. What looks like casual friendliness is actually her testing the waters to see if you are emotionally available and safe. When you understand the psychology beneath the surface, you stop looking for massive romantic gestures and start noticing the real, micro signals of trust. Here is the part no one talks about. The proximity shift is the first real clue. Most men look for overt touching, but attraction actually starts with how she positions her body in your shared space. Most people in relationships or dating dynamics think attraction requires physical contact. But beneath the surface, a woman's nervous system will naturally guide her to close the physical gap between you long before she ever reaches out to touch your hand. She will unconsciously enter your personal bubble, choosing the seat next to you instead of across from you, or lingering just a second longer when passing by. Her brain is quietly registering, "I feel safe enough to be close to him." For example, a woman who just sees you as a friend will maintain a standard, comfortable boundary, sitting back, keeping her bag between you, and leaving physical space. But a woman who likes you will lean in when you speak, point her torso completely toward yours, and let her shoulder brush against yours without pulling away. And when you notice that shift and welcome it, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to say a word. And this is the one most couples and dating partners never figure out. The vulnerability audit is how she tests the waters. She will explicitly test your emotional maturity by sharing small, messy pieces of her life. Most couples default to keeping things light and superficial in the early stages of getting to know each other. They talk about the weather, work, or hobbies. However, when a younger woman is attracted to an older man, she is often drawn to his perceived stability and wisdom. She will perform a vulnerability audit to see how you handle her real emotions. Something in her is saying, "Can he handle my world, or will he just judge me?" Think about the difference here. A casual acquaintance will tell you, "Work was fine today, just busy." But a woman who is building a connection with you will lean in and say, "Honestly, I had a really overwhelming day at work today and felt completely out of my depth." She is waiting to see if you will rush to fix it like a parent, or if you will simply offer your presence and listen like a partner. That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. This is where it gets really interesting, and honestly, it's the sign that drives most men completely crazy. Digital deliberation changes the pace of the conversation. Most people assume that if someone likes you, they will text back instantly and keep the conversation flowing seamlessly. But when a younger woman is texting an older man she respects, the stakes are incredibly high. She doesn't want to seem overeager, immature, or boring. The lag in her response time isn't a sign of drift, it's a sign of deep deliberation. What's moving through her in those moments is, "I want to make sure I sound smart and composed for him." Consider the contrast. When she's texting a platonic friend, she sends rapid-fire, fragmented, low-effort thoughts without a second thought. But with you, her texts are thoughtful, filled with open-ended questions, and she references specific details you mentioned days ago. This isn't a communication hack on her part. This is just what two people naturally do when the attraction is real and the desire to impress is high. Here's the truth that nobody explains. The peer approval pivot is a massive green light. If she likes you, her social circle will know about you long before you ever meet them. Most men think attraction is entirely a two-way street built strictly in isolated one-on-one moments. But the reality is, a younger woman heavily relies on her trusted community to validate her emotional choices. If she is into you, she will casually bring up your name, your advice, or your achievements to her closest friends to see how they react. Her nervous system is seeking safety, and her internal monologue sounds like, "If they see how great he is, then I know my feelings are valid." Watch for this specific pattern. A woman who isn't interested will keep you completely compartmentalized from her personal life. But a woman who is falling for you will say things like, "I was telling my best friend about that book you recommended, and she said it sounds exactly like something I need to read." When she integrates you into her wider world like that, she stops feeling like a puzzle to solve and starts feeling like a person to come home to. This is the ultimate indicator, and it's the one most guys completely look past in our hyper-distracted world. Focused presence means the world disappears. Not a flashy gift, not a dramatic confession of feelings, not an over-the-top compliment, but a person who gives you their absolute, undivided attention in a room full of noise. Most people today are constantly looking over their shoulders, checking their notifications, and scanning the room for the next best thing. When you are together, her phone goes face down on the table. Her eyes don't wander. Her brain is quietly registering. Nothing else matters right now except what he is saying. Notice the real-life contrast. In a casual dynamic, she'll glance at her phone every time it lights up, keeping one foot out the door. But when she likes you, the rest of the world fades into the background. She laughs at your jokes, remembers the small details, and actively extends the conversation because she simply doesn't want the night to end. This isn't a trick for avoiding awkward silences. This is what it looks like when someone has learned to value your presence above everything else. Internalizing these signs isn't about memorizing a dating checklist or trying to game the system. It's an invitation to show up with greater awareness, presence, and emotional maturity in your interactions. And that changes everything about what's possible between you and the people you care about. When you understand the deeper psychological patterns at play, you stop guessing, stop overthinking, and start responding to the real connection building right in front of you. These aren't just tips for reading a woman's signals, they're the beginning of becoming the kind of grounded, conscious partner who creates safety wherever he goes. Real intimacy doesn't start when you find the right person. It starts when you decide to become one.